Hey everybody, small intimate group tonight. Welcome to Paranormal into the Night right here on the Late Horror Show. This is going to be a very laid back, kind of casual discussion on the experiences of my grandparents. So it's going to be interesting to lay out everything that they kind of went through their life. So I just got home, was not even able to post this anywhere, but I think everybody knows that something goes on Sunday nights. So hopefully people will come in and eventually hear the listen to the stories. So with that said, I will say hello to Connie Clary, Edward Stewart, and Night Fright Talk Show. Thank you very much for being here this evening. And Kathy, hey Kathy, what's going on? Good to see you, Kathy. Dino in chat and the chat. So there you go. With that said, this is going to be kind of an interesting give and take. You guys, please ask questions. Feel free to intervene with what I'm talking about. If you have a question about something that took place, or you think of something that you might want to ask me, please do in the chat, because these are a lot of memories that kind of went on during the younger part of my life. So it's going to be interesting. Anyways, hey, Becca Too Tall, Travis DeLuca, MOR, The Vagrancy Horror. What is going on? I'm at work, but I wanted to say hi really quick. Thank you very much. I posted my streams and on Discord. On my streams and on Discord. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing. Much love to each and every one of you. Got the notification. Okay. With that said, too, please give a thumbs up, subscribe, check out the links below. Overnight tonight is going to be part 2. I have to do them back to back because it's one gigantic story overnight, the old time radio shows. It's one long 130 episode radio serial. I hope a lot of people enjoyed it. Magic Island. There's a hokey kind of a cheesy little actor, but it's from the the late 30s. So it is what it is. So hopefully you guys do enjoy that. Tonight I'm going to play not the rest of them. There's like 5 or 6 episodes that I couldn't fit in, and that'll probably be tomorrow night. And the rest will probably be something like, oh my God, Richard Diamond or Johnny, something like that. So we'll see. Or maybe something different, maybe something new. So anyways, I really enjoyed that last night, Magic Island Part 2. Yeah, I have to play them back to back. And there's a link in the description to take you to the second stream. So anyways, here we go. Let's talk about some paranormal. And again, I'll be watching the chat in case anybody has questions or anything like that. But my grandparents, yes, very much so. Very, very, they experienced a lot. I saw half of it, maybe. But a lot went on, and they're very interesting ghost stories. And to put them into perspective, they lived during kind of the World War II era, and they're no longer with us. They haven't been for a while now. So they passed a while. They passed a while ago, maybe 20 years. Man, has it been that long? Holy Moses. But I was a kid, and boy, up until my 20s, I didn't want to be away from them. I was always by their side, just listening to their stories, and they were just fun, happy people. Hey, Ryan79, what's going on? Sears James. Hey, Dino, how's it going, my friend? Going pretty good. Just about ready to get into my grandparents' life and story, kind of, pertaining to the paranormal. So, my grandmother, my grandfather was in World War II, bazookaman. He was like 1,000 yards from Hitler, where everything went on. Very cool, interesting stories. But I think the story took place, all begins when they first meet, my grandfather and my grandmother. They first meet. They met very young. I could say like right out of high school is when all that, they got together. Things were different back in those days. Working was more important and stuff like that. But their very, very first experience. But I will say this first: my grandmother, her mother, would read. She was, I guess, you would say, psychic. She would read tea leaves in a cup. So she was one of those early century, the early part of the century where a lot of people were reading kind of tea leaves and stuff who were psychic. So that was their way of, reaching to the other side. So my grandmother's mother would read tea leaves. So there's kind of a connection there to the paranormal. How she passed it on to my grandmother, because I think everything that happened and everything I'm going to tell you guys about happened revolving around my grandmother. Not so much my grandfather, I don't think, but my grandmother. Hey, Overkill, what is going on? I'm ready for some Sunday evening stories of spooky dookie. Caveman, what's going on? You are very lucky to have had such a close relationship with your grandparents, Dino. Thank you, Kathy. Oh yeah, it was very, very good, very, very good. I loved it. We'll cherish that forever, and that's why I was so glad that my grandmother appeared to me in her dreams, in my dream, her dreams, my dream, when she passed on. But okay, so we've established my grandmother, her mother, tea leaves, kind of passed on something, must have. But the earliest paranormal experience was my grandmother and grandfather walking down the street soon after getting married, and seeing a UFO. Not ghostly, but I still think it's somewhat paranormal. They said they were walking down the street holding hands. They looked up. They seen come right over their heads what was like a lighted disc, and it just zoomed all the way downtown. And yeah, that was their first experience. Very interesting for sure. Hey, Ocean, what's going on? Good to see you. Trying to put in chronological order everything that happened to my grandparents. And once I get to the house that I grew up in when I was a little kid, woo, does it take off from there. But that was their first experience. And I will also tell you about the experiences my grandmother had when she was a young kid. And when I talk about some of these things, please preface it with the fact that when you see spirits per se, like you hear all kinds of things out there where I saw the devil and the devil had horns and their face was red. My grandmother saw this, and I will talk about that in a few seconds here because it's kind of one of the earlier stories. Spirits, whether good or bad, mostly the evil or the bad or the spirits that just have evil intent, they can show themselves in many different ways. Okay, usually the way we see them, sometimes there's kind of a manipulation to the individual that is seeing them, uh, kind of going to our memories. So what we know as evil, like the devil, you see the devil as red horns. She saw this Satan, she called him, with the horse body and the hooves and the horns and just the evil eyes, all black. So you're going to, some people are going to see spirits, especially the evil spirits, in a certain light, in a negative way, in something that they've seen before, usually, in a memory. I think that goes on throughout the entire paranormal sphere. You know what I mean? People who see even Bigfoot or Mothman or Thunderbirds or any kind of ghost or spirit whatsoever, or monster or creature. A lot of times it comes from our memory. Spirits try to take form try to show themselves in certain ways. And a lot of times it's the manipulation of our memory that kind of triggers what we see. So on with what she's seen. Let's see. I don't want to miss anything in the chat, so I will be looking over there. A centaur. Yes. Poe Girl Shines. How are you doing? Yes, a centaur. Yeah, and you would, there's lots of descriptions of Satan or the devil as a centaur, with the horns and the red body and face. But anyways, let's see. So was my grandparents Edward. Am I missing something? Let's see. Hey, Dino. Nice ocean. Minus well 103, 104. That wow. Yeah. Long lives, long lives. That's good. Sherry Walder, namaste all. Namaste to you. So, with that said, before everybody freaks out and says, "Oh my God, that sounds so stupid. That sounds so ridiculous." Sometimes the most ridiculous stories are true. It's just they sound crazy because, especially when you're a little kid, you know what I mean? You're going to see the monsters and the creatures from your memory, and it's just the way it's going to be. So, one of the very earliest memories my grandmother had as a child. And hey, CM, good to see you. Good to see everyone. Please chime in if you want to ask a question or have a question. But she was lying in bed. She was about 6 or 7 years old, so very young. That's right around the age that I experienced my first. And we'll get to talking about me where it relates to my grandmother and the experiences we had in the Cleveland house. Okay. I will call it the Fulton house. Okay. That's what we've always called it in our family, the Fulton house. There's no lore there other than what I know is us living there as a gigantic family. Everybody lived there. But she, as a child, the first experience was what I just started to talk about, where her and her sister were laying in bed. A lot of things happened all the time as she was growing up in the house she was growing up in. And one night she went to bed and she woke up with her eyes open and she looked over and they slept with the light on, she said. So she had full view and full form of what she said was, she called it Satan. That's all she said. She said it was the devil, it was Satan. She said she looked over. It was not looking at her, but it was looking at, and it will get scary. Listen, and all of this is 100% true in my eyes, because half of the stories I witnessed, most of the family witnessed a lot of these things. This first stories when she was a kid, this is her story, but because you can't corroborate it with the sister because she stayed asleep. But I will back up with corroboration when I talk about it. I had, let's see, Poe Girl Shines. I had a haunted sock once. A hole kept appearing in the same sock, no matter how much it was darned. What is that true, Poe Girl Shines? You're joking. Okay. Anyways, so her sister was lying next to her. She woke up, she opened her eyes, and she saw this being, this devil, looking over her sister. She has no idea why, what it was doing there, but it was looking over at her, looking in her eyes. She said, had the body of a centaur, like a body of a horse or a goat like body. She could see the hair on the back of it, she said. She said the body was all red, long nails, okay, big eyebrows, bushy, just like you would see. Big, she said there were horns coming out of the jet black hair that this devil had. And she said just piercing black eyes, and just looking down at her sister. And she said she was just looking out of the corner of her eyes and wouldn't make a peep. But then it looked over at her. And she said she will never, ever forget that. And she threw her covers up above her head and she said she just wouldn't do it, look out again. And she woke up, and that's kind of the story as it pertains to her first experience she ever had. Let's see what's going on. I know that feeling. My socks can't make a week without holes getting in them. Make sure you cut your nails. Anyways, caveman, I think the devil is a busy guy. He has helpers, much like Santa Claus. Well, and again, I believe it's the memory of my grandmother. You're going to make. That's why it sounds so silly. Why would you see the devil in red and from stories and things? But it's your memories bring out the form of what you're seeing, and I think the spirits or energy kind of manipulate that in a way, and you see what your brain's going to tell you to see. As it's Listen, I don't know, it's complicated, it's very complicated. But then we go to the second story. The second story is also around this time where she was a child. And her and her sister, same bed, same bedroom. Man, I would have been out of there so quick. But when you're a child, you stay where you're told to be. So, but she always remembers, and this one scared the living daylights out of me. And again, you can say these are stories my grandparents are telling us to scare us. They're spooky stories. But no, if it wasn't for all the other corroboration and things I seen too when I was younger, maybe I would think that. But I believe everything that they said, usually always corroborated. So they were in the bed again one night before going to bed, and they would always hear, or at least this night, they said they would hear things under the bed quite a bit. Okay. Why? I don't know. But they would hear underneath their bed. So one night they were listening, they heard, and they said, we got, it sounded like talking. Okay. And that's going to be a reoccurring theme, the talking, the whispers. I heard that a lot in the one house, with the Fulton house. This isn't the Fulton house. This is where my grandmother grew up in. They looked under the bed, and they said they saw what appeared to be the heads of 3 elderly people. The one was giggling and laughing, okay? And the other one, she couldn't make out what was being said. And the other one just looked very angry. And they were all 3 kind of just, but they were looking at my grandmother and her sister underneath the bed. Scared them half to death. They ran and told their parents, and they said, "There's nothing under there. There's nothing in your bed. Go back to sleep." So they went back to sleep, and that was it. But they always heard noises under there. The heads, what the heck could that be? I don't know. That's probably the most bizarre, only because of its heads underneath the bed. Where's the body? Is it below the floor? What's going on there? I don't know. But anyways, that's the story. That's the story. Let's see. I used to love stories like this, getting together with others and swapping odd but true stories. That's the thing. I would love to have people come on here and share the stories, but just not enough people, and not enough people to want to come on and share the story. Like, I could drop the link, and I guess I will. If you feel like coming on, you don't have to be on camera. You can just have your audio. But you know what? Here's the link. If you want to jump on and tell your ghost stories as I continue. So the next one involves the house that was right before the Fulton house. This was as my grandparents. The stuff happened all the time, but I'm getting to the main parts. There's the Fulton house, and there's the Charles house, named for the street. Okay, that's why I call it that. Sherry Walder said, "I will." Feel free, hit the link, Sherry, and you can come on and talk about it. I would love that. I would love that. The link is in the description there. I just dropped it. So the Charles house, my grandparents had children at this point. So 13 kids, okay, 13 kids, lots of aunts and uncles sleeping in the same room, sharing rooms, okay? So the biggest thing at this house, and shadows would follow my grandparents wherever they lived, Okay, wherever they lived, shadows would. Um, so the one room that my uncles slept in, okay, and they were 15, 12, 8, somewhere around there. So three uncles, they all slept in that room every night, scared the living daylights out of. Do I have to use my real name? Nope, CM. Nope. Everybody can be anonymous. You can type, you do have to type in your name or something. So you can put anything you want there. Just as long as I kind of know it's you, because I don't want to just have anybody on. I can't tonight. I'm babysitting. No problem, Sherry. Anytime anybody wants to, they can pop on. But yes, you can use whatever name, CM. So they were in a bedroom together, my three uncles, which is funny. They shared a room at the Charles house and the Fulton house. Okay. And these things happen kind of at both houses, with one exception and one difference in the Fulton house. There was a residual haunting there that happened all the time. But this house, they would turn out the lights, they would go to bed, and they kind of knew what was coming, okay? Because there would be shadows that would appear on the wall all the time, almost every night when they were there sleeping. They would be up on the walls, the shadows of beings, just people, like, kind of going like this, moving around, moving about. They would see them all the time, full forms, full dark shadows up on the wall of people. It's scary. I mean, 15, 12, 8. It would scare the living daylights out of them. I get it. I get it. Um, that was kind of I'm like, that was kind of it at that house for the uncle's room. But they would hear noises, they would hear sounds. The shadows were throughout the house, but mainly in that one room that our uncles slept in. And my grandfather, for some reason, my grandfather would carry around the same experiences in the Charles house and the Fulton house. It started in the Charles house, where he was up in the attic, dead of summer, okay, like 120 degrees up there. I mean, you know how an attic gets, with all that heat. Um, he would always get, or he did get for the first time in the Charles house, that the very cold, he said 120, and then all of a sudden the entire attic would just freeze. He would get chills going up his spine. It felt like it was like, below zero out there. I mean, it just froze. He saw the breath coming out, all of that. Scared the living daylights out of him. And he said when that happened, he heard what was a big clank and a boom over on the one side of the attic. And the story's going to happen at the Fulton house too, but a little differently too, because my uncles were there and older at this time. But it was just my grandfather at that time there in the attic. And he said, it scared the living daylights out of me. He went downstairs. He said, nope, nope, never again, never again. So that's kind of the Charles house. And we're going to go over to the Fulton house, which is where most of the experiences I remember and the stories, a lot of really interesting stuff happened. Let me see. I don't want to miss anything. Becca Too Tall, after my dad passed away in 2013, I was almost asleep one night and felt something poke me very hard in the back between my shoulder blades 3 times. I thought it was my husband, but it wasn't. Becca Too Tall. Can't explain it. Super weird. And see, Becca, I had an experience like this at the Fulton house as a kid, and I'll talk about this. I know it's different when you're a kid or a grown-up, but listen, to this day, the experiences I had at the Fulton house at the age of around 6 years old, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, they're real. And they were corroborated with other people in the family. And except for the first thing that ever happened to me there, and it was my very first experience. And it scared the living daylights out of me. But let's see. see them on the paranormal shows with shadow people. Some show pretty good evidence. Edward Stewart, yeah, they are 1 and 2, so it would be the wrong kind of screaming on my end. Oh, did you say that? I'm sure, Sherry, there will be some similar show like, oh yeah, no, if I can get people to like join in and do that, won't go into details, but right after or time of death of loved ones, something strange happens sometimes. Pogo. Oh yeah, no, listen, Pogo Shines. I've talked about this many times on a lot of these paranormal shows with the moment of death. I mean, there's something that leaves you. It's an energy. It's your, what everybody calls your soul. You know what I mean? And I believe the soul to be your entire energy. It. You've got an aura about you too. Anyways, we won't talk about that too much on this show. I've gone over that many times. I think maybe in the future start dedicating certain shows to topics like that. But let's see, ever have those dreams where there are tons of people walking around and you see some of your deceased ones there? Makes me wonder if you visit heaven or the afterlife in dreams. Pogo Shines, I believe. Uh, oh God, see, you're taking me into wild different directions. 100%. I believe certain people. I think the dream is when you get into that dream state. I think you're going into a whole new place. I think the dream state is a whole new place. A lot of people would tell you it's your memories, it's your brain just going through processing memories throughout the day of what you're thinking of, which for a lot of people sounds like it could be correct. That could be it. But I've had such a deep relationship with my dreams and astral travel and stuff like that that I know 100% that when I dream, I'm going to a different place. I'm not saying everybody can do it, but a lot, like you said, I think there's a kind of a different dimension there, a different, just a whole different universe, so to speak, of stuff going on in lives and activity. And yeah. And I talked about this quite a bit on my the last show I did, but I won't go into it too much more. I want to get all these stories in. An alternate state of reality. Yes, that's a good way to put it, Sears James. But one that's 100% like I remember, like it's there. It's just a feeling I can't even explain. Most people, like I think Poe Girl, talking about that, understands what I mean. It's not like a simple dream where your brain is processing, because I do believe that goes on too. You know what I mean? But anyways, let's see. Did I miss anything else? Let me go on. I'm going to go on to the Fulton House. Sherry Walder, I am a medium. I deal with spirits on a daily. Sherry Walder, please get a hold of me. Yes, maybe I have you on here. I'd like to talk to you about that. Sorry I'm late. Got hey, Black Roses. What's going on? Good to see you. Also, traveling definitely takes practice. Astral travel definitely takes practice. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Many years of trying to figure it out, and eventually, yeah. Once you get there, because there's this there's this break that happens during the process of leaving your body and doing the astral traveling. It's a lot of times you'll feel that jerk. Sometimes that's what's trying to happen without you even trying to attempt it. That's kind of you trying to leave your body. But there's also it's very difficult. Anyways, the Fulton House, you guys. Hey Schultze. Hey Schultze, what's going on? The Fulton House was kind of the same way. Fluff Chick Productions, what's going on? Good to see you too. But yeah, the astral travel, a lot of people get scared of it because a lot of people get into the state where they feel like they're paralyzed also. Like, it's not like you won't get out of that state, but it feels so scary at first. There's that you're in your body, you're out of your body. And then there's that middle, almost like limbo. There's that middle part where it's called sleep paralysis. If you can learn to control that, but most people's minds kind of freak out and don't know how to process it. And there's no way it's going to happen. You're not going to do any astral traveling. You can forget about it. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of different things that go into it. And yes, until you perfect it and you get over that, the fright of what's happening to you, it's scary and it's hard to do. And most people can't do it. Sorry for your loss, Beck, going way up there. Hi, much love, everybody. Yes, of course. Yes. My Chippewa grandmother taught me what it was and how to control it, Edward Stewart. Yes. My grandmother's grandparent who read the tea leaves was Blackfoot Indian. So there were a lot of things passed on, I think, but somehow my grandmother just opened, everything was just opened. How it happens, anyways. So the Fulton house, here we go. We move over there. We move over to the, but sleep paralysis is better compared to sleepwalking, especially in my neighborhood. Sleepwalking, sleep in Black Rose in your neighborhood. Okay, I had no clue what it was at the time. Edward Stewart. Edward Stewart, did you experience that middle part, like right before you were able to kind of jump out of the body? That kind of frozen state that you go into before you take the leap. Let me know in the chat. I'm curious. I've had sleep paralysis since I was a child. Sherry Walder. Sherry, and you say you're a psychic. Have you pushed yourself in the direction of trying to overcome that and possibly astral travel? Because if you haven't, I would suggest that you do that. Embrace it until I learned what it was better now. Okay. But try to embrace that. Anyways, okay. Let's see. In science, they say energy cannot be created or destroyed. It only changes forms. 100% caveman. That is why who we are changes as we pass on or move to the next level, whatever you want to say. But yes, that's why I have always said I do not believe we die. I don't like that word. I don't think we die. I think we move on. When we move on, we leave. We are energy. When we move on, we take and leave bits of energy behind, which we call memory. We can also call that a part of us that becomes still intelligent enough to either stay in a house or spook a house or ghost a house, something along those lines. So it's very, very complicated, but when it comes to energy, I think as we as we pass on, we move on, we split all of this energy. The main part of our soul will move on, but it does leave bits and pieces of energy, which I call memory, or bits of intelligent, bits of us that are still intelligent enough to stick around and send what we see to where. Anyways, that's why there's no time, everything's different on the other side when we pass on. That's why we do see loved ones. That's why it's, and that's where all the complicated questions come in. Why do we see loved ones? Why aren't they passed on? Why aren't they reincarnated? They are. Oh my God, I'm hitting my mic. They are. But part of that themselves stick around in, whether it's this dimension, the next dimension, wherever it is we go after we pass on. It's very complicated. Let's see. Did Edward ask? Yes, I did, Dino, and came out of water the first time and PG's were soaked, not pee. Okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. Very interesting. We reincarnate unless we make it up or down, I guess. Um, Sherry, yeah, you know what, Sherry, I'd like to have you on the show, talk about all of this because, yes, I do believe in reincarnation too. The way too many stories that, oh my God, this is going to a different direction. I do believe in reincarnation. I'll get my grandparents' story in. Believe me, the story's in. Um, but yes, I think the soul, which I'll call it the soul, because there's two different forms of energy that's in our body. One's called the soul. One you could call, I'm at a loss of words at the moment, but the soul is the one that can be reincarnated, that could move on to different worlds. Listen, we have the ability to have a life on a different planet if we wish, but there also is a part of us that is the part that, like I said, uh, carries on the memories, sticks around sometimes, and it's a complicated thing. But reincarnation, yes, yes. Too many stories of young kids talking about right before they passed and who they were being corroborated by people who said, yes, this person lived here. And you got a 5-year-old who's just now starting to speak. There's children who not learned, who started to speak like French, and the parents are like, what? Nobody in the house speaks French. What is going on? And slowly, once the kids started speak English too, kind of got the story and wrote pictures, drew pictures. I think the one story I was talking about, that where the kid was talking French, drew a plane, a crash, and eventually, yeah, corroboration. All of these things. It's just so. In a way, it's something that you can say, I'm not scared of growing old, of the afterlife. Because we know something's there, right? Something in some form is there. Anyways, the Fulton House, people. So, as Black Roses throws up another topic, some near-death experiences, says this is a schoolyard, and when you pass, after a while, you may have to come back for new lessons or to give lessons. That is another thing. Yes, Black Roses. Given the choice to come back to this plane of existence on Earth, I don't know. There were points in my life where I go, you know what? This is hell. This is what people talk about. But you know what? Over the years, I've learned that there's so many beautiful things on the planet too, on this plane of existence we're on. Listen, there's terrible, horrible things. That's why I said, listen, this is hell. This is what we speak of. This is where hell is right now. But you know, uh, I think every life. Okay, let me put it this way, Black Roses. I don't think it has anything to do with being reincarnated or the near death experiences or anything like coming back to here. Uh, you know, I think we learn no matter where we go. I think the next level we're learning, if we decide to stick on Earth and come back on Earth in the form of a cat or cow, listen, I wouldn't think so, but listen, I've heard of those stories too, where yes, some people choose to come back in animal form, but I think every step of the way is a learning process. Do we have to go back to learn certain things? And when I say go back, I don't mean go back and come back as the same person you were. I think it's coming back in a different form, and you may have progressed in some areas with your learning experience. And listen, this all, there's people who don't believe in this. There's different um, ways of thinking about all of this, but Fulton House. Let's get to it. Agree on where hell is. Yes. Oh, yes. The world is heaven and hell, depending. Yes. Pogirl shines. Hell, I think, is just a word used for the evil that is committed. I don't think there's a fire and brimstone sort of place. Although I can't say for sure or be 100%. There could be a level or a dimension where spirits go to, uh, not to be tortured per se, but to feel some of that agony that they did in their life, their past life, or their whatever life they lived, like say a serial killer who tortured or something like that. Uh, Come to think of it, there's a story that I heard of a girl who did pass on. It was a near-death experience, and her name was Sally. And this was a popular, like a lot of people heard the story back in the mid 90s. And she had what was an unusual near death experience. We have plenty of time for the Fulton house. She had a negative near death experience where she went to this place, and she describes it as all black. She was guided by this spirit and taken to this long corridor or hallway or whatever you want to call it, just this black abyss. And she would go by these rooms off to the side of her. And she said she remembers seeing like what would be like spirits floating around. Like you could hear in one room, and this was all misery, agony. You can hear all the tortured souls in one room. You can hear them. Just the worst possible thing you can possibly think of hearing and seeing the faces of spirits just with this horrible look of pain and agony. And she said she was taken down through these steps, and she said she did not do any evil or any bad, but for some reason she was being shown this, and she had no idea. Never kept up with that story, or even went back and listened, or even seen if anything had changed in her life. But listen, I'm sure it had. But if anything, I believe that's kind of something that probably happens to those kind of people. That could be their lesson, okay? Do all of the harm and kind of go on for however long in the same state your victims were in. I mean, that quite possibly could be the deal there. I don't think anybody has 100% of the answers, by no means. I think only the day you're told or you've learned enough, then you will be capable of knowing some of the truth. But I put this out there, just where did we come from? We all know that very common question of where did we all come from? Where did everything begin? And where everything began, what was before that? Like, there's always a starting point. So if there's a starting point, what was before that starting point to create the starting? It's a very complicated circle that can get you going with your thought process. RWI sounds like Beetlejuice. It does a little bit RRY, but all the torture souls like Scrooge, a little bit too there. Yeah, exactly. I am going to email you so we can chat. I would love to talk with you and come on the show. I am a little shy, so be nice people. Oh, everybody's awesome in the chat. Sherry, definitely cool. I would love to talk to you about these things. Yeah. I love getting people's, especially people who are connected to the other side, and you definitely are. If you're a psychic and you deal with this on a daily basis, we'll talk. Anyways, let me start on with the Fulton house, because there's lots of stories that happen there, and I do want to talk about that a bit. And then we can continue to talk too. So the Fulton house, my grandparents moved in. My grandparents would move. They moved quite a bit. Okay, I mean, it happened. The two places that had the most activity was the one I just talked about, the Charles house, and the Fulton house. The Fulton house is the one I remember because the entire family lived there. Okay, so imagine a full up and down, upstairs, downstairs house. Okay. Really old house. It could have been a century old house. Somewhere, it could be. I can't really remember. It's since been torn down, and I wonder why it was torn down. I don't know. But anyways, so there was that house. Downstairs lived my grandparents. And with my grandparents lived maybe 4 uncles and a couple aunts. Okay? So 4 uncles and a couple aunts. Upstairs lived my mother, who was also my grandmother. Yes. And upstairs was my mother, and she had 7 children. I was the oldest of 7, but at the time there were 4 of us. 4 of us children upstairs. And in the back was my aunt. There was a little house in the back where my aunt stayed, and my aunt, who she was married to, and she just had a baby. So that's kind of the setup with the living arrangements in the house. So believe me, a big Italian family, that's kind of what we were. Always stuff going on, big dinners, parties, whatever. But very poor, very poor. It was always that way up until a certain point. Have aunt named Kathy. Yeah, I've got, you name the name, and I've got many aunts. I think everyone has these abilities to extent. Some just have more developed gifts. Caveman. Yes. It takes a lot to develop. Some it comes to them easily, and some it don't. But somehow my grandmother was a portal. And at the Fulton house, we started off with the same things, the noises, knocks, this and that. My uncles got the room, same 3 uncles sleeping in the room. The shadows were on the wall. The shadows were up on the wall. Figures darting about back and forth, scared them to death. One night, my one uncle, which didn't happen at the other house, but happened at this house, which had the most activity. He said he opened his eyes one night because he heard something. And he was, like I said, he was around 12 years old, 13 maybe now, 13, something like that. And he was awoken because he heard sounds like somebody, or sounds from the dresser. And he opened his eyes and looked, and he saw the shape of your typical white powdered ghost, okay, standing over the dresser and moving things about, and you can hear them clanking and things moving, and the drawers and stuff like that. And he said he started to nudge his uncle, or his brother, my uncle. He started to nudge him, and as he nudged him, the ghost turned around and looked at him, and he froze. He said he froze. So it heard him and noticed that he was making noise too, and turned around. So an intelligent haunt. He said it turned around, looked at him, turned back, and went about doing his own thing, threw his blanket up. When you're scared, that's the first thing you're going to do. Kept nudging his uncle and stuff. And when he woke up, they both looked, and it was gone. And he said that was the only time he's seen that spirit. It was like an older man, an older gentleman. It being all white, you couldn't really see like clothes of what kind of clothes. Anyway, so and also there was a third thing that happened in that room. I've spoke of this many times. Of there was a certain time of night, roughly you could say around 11 p.m. Everybody stayed up late in my family. I mean, the big family. I mean, come on, my grandma had 13 kids, and we're all in a house where we're upstairs. They're down. We came and went as we pleased. We hung out. I had an uncle my age, so it was nice that me being 6 or 7, not only did I have my 3 other brothers and sisters, but I had my uncle who was the same age. We all played, who corroborated a lot of what I'm going to tell you about kind of next. Uh, but 11 p.m., almost on the dot, and they would always try to catch it. If they walked by their bedroom door where the shadows were and they seen that spirit, uh, they always caught a glimpse. Never could see the head, could see half the body and 1 foot of a body just walking into the closet. Walking into the closet. That's it. A residual haunting, I would think. Same thing, quite often. It wasn't every night because I don't know how quickly they needed to be there right on the dot at 11 p.m., but it was always right at 11 p.m. It just was really odd. And I'm going to get on to my stories in that house next, being upstairs and downstairs with my grandparents. Let's see. I don't want to get too far behind. Let's see. Let me go up real quick. Happy National Ice Cream Day. Okay, 13 usually the number. I don't think. Okay, 13 comes to me all the time. It has to do with bloodlines. 11 comes to me all the time, Sherry. 11 always comes to me. Don't know why. 11, 11, 11. Anyways, I know some people believe in numbers, and numerology plays a part in, even astrology and all that. It all plays a part in everything. It depends how you work your magic, whatever, so to speak. Let's see. I meant the ghost of Christmas future hour. Okay, Becca, gotcha. Jeez. Okay, everybody understand. Yeah. I hear what you're saying there, Sherry. I am O negative, bloodline. Okay, that's why I am so psychic, clairvoyant, and clairaudient, which means you can hear the voices too. Yeah, Sherry, I definitely would like. Yeah, you get it. You'll email me. Bloodline's important part of this whole puzzle. Well, Sherry, that's one of the questions I would like to, and make sure when you're on to bring it up. Talk about bloodlines, because I'm very interested in why you think bloodlines are very important. There's a reason I'm asking, and I'm not going to go into it much more on that when it comes to bloodlines. I've talked to Gary Wayne about that many, many times. He talks about bloodlines in a different way, the fallen angels, the giants of the past, and stuff like that. But I'd be curious what your take is on bloodlines when it comes to people who deal with the paranormal, who are psychic or clairvoyant and stuff like that too. So yeah, very, very interesting. Very interesting. Let's see. You guys are all talking about your blood. That's enough for me to move out. Right, CM? But my grandparents were used to it, and then the kids have nothing to say about it. I don't know. Again, they were very poor, big, poor, happy Italian family eating. Anyways, it is what it is. Besides no mirrors, I also built my house without closets. MOR, no closets. Now, we're all of Dino's late night family. Yes, you guys are, Sirs James. Each and every one of you guys are my family. You better believe it. Overkill, 7, 11, 13, all odd numbers. Interesting. Let's see. For some Italians, 13 is actually a lucky number, says Caveman. They'll wear it on chain around their necks, on their necks. I do numerology, gematria, and astrology, Sherry. Yeah, please throw all of that in the email. Please throw all of that in the email. I would appreciate that. I'm not into the occult at all, but used to be interested in it. My ML was an astrologist. I see things before they happen. Connie Clary. Okay, interesting. Who cares about ghosts when you got grandma's authentic Italian cooking? Listen, I've got recipes that were passed down from my grandparents. Spaghetti being one of them. Spanish noodles being another one. Anyways, Miss ya, miss ya. 7 and 11 are holy numbers, Sherry. Very cool. Okay, so let's move on to my experiences because they were all in the most haunted house through my family's history, the Fulton house. And I was a kid, which makes some people go, you were a kid. You were just dreaming. You were thinking. No, these were all real to me. Even the first experience. I had a couple other uncles who talked about being touched. Okay. So being touched, it's a thing in the paranormal field. You get enough energy together, you can physically be touched, scratched. You could feel coldness or heat from the touch. So it just depends. So my very first experience ever, and it happened in that house one night when I was sleeping upstairs. And listen, this house, for me and for most people, it felt off. You know how they tell you, I walked into a house, I felt a certain way, and I just walked out. Except my grandparents didn't. They embraced it and they moved right in. Again, I do believe from the stories that it had to do because they could only afford so much. They had to. They took the house, they needed to. Thus, we're upstairs living, helping out. Aunts in the back helping out, living. So I'm laying in the bed. It's late one night. My mom is next to me in bed. And I feel I'm just laying there. I couldn't get to sleep. And listen, I know I'm young, but I remember this like it was yesterday. I'm laying there, and from behind me, okay, from the back of the bed, there was no headboard. I felt a hand come up, and it felt like a hand grab my shoulder, and it wouldn't let go. And I started shaking my mom and shaking my mom, shaking my mom, and it was gone. First experience. Probably one of it's weird, but that for some reason that was one of the scariest. Probably because it was my first, and it's a hand grabbing your shoulder. Again, this all sounds nuts, but if you know anything about the paranormal and spirits and ghosts, if you believe in them or any kind of activity or paranormal anything, if you believe there's something going on out there that isn't just quite normal. Again, I gave you many reasons why. I mean, just think about why you're sitting there right now in front of your monitor or your phone or your laptop. Why are you sitting there right now? What are we doing? What are we doing right now? What is the mission? Where do we come from? And then even if you think spiritually and think of God, the God we're taught, you know what I mean? Who created God? And if somebody created God, or if God is formed from something or just was manifested or created, listen, everything comes from somewhere. Anyways, many different things to say, listen, things aren't just let's go to store, let's wake up, let's work, let's go. There's a lot of strange things happening out there. We hear about it every day, right? Anyways, listen, to some I probably sound like a kook, but it is what it is. I'm not embarrassed whatsoever about any of it. Let's see. What's weird, Dino? A few times early in my and I haven't even gotten to the weirdest story of all I will talk about next that I experienced at the Fulton house. That was a night to remember. That's all I gotta say. Poe Girl Shines. What's weird, Dino? A few times early in life, I have felt that invisible hand, like others have too. I just started to have this again the last week or two. Interesting, Poe Girl Shines. And the thing is, it doesn't necessarily mean it's anything evil. It could be a good spirit trying to reach out, and a family member. Listen, it could be somebody living, extending or giving off energy or dreaming. Somebody could have been dreaming at the time that was thinking about me and caused that sensation of reaching out and touch me. Because if you believe in certain things, you could also believe, if you believe in the astral traveling or dream state being kind of this whole different, connection between a world here and a world there, or dimension there, here. Um, it could also be people who are living manifesting things or creating that. Somebody thought of me, somebody grabbed me. Who knows? It's a very complicated field to be in, and one to try to break down, which is why each case you do kind of try to break down as best you can. Um, Especially after they pass. The smells can be amazing, like perfume. Yes, yes. I believe, yeah, I believe it's somewhat residual, a lot of those types of things, but I also do believe that intelligent haunts can also bring those types of smells with them because it's part of their essence, their being, who they used to be. So, smells and things like that. Me and Dave talked about the White House and how they can catch a whiff of bread baking in the basement, and about the Civil War and how they used to bake all the for the military members and all that. Anyways, um, children and the elderly seem to experience these things more as they are closer to the other side than the young and healthy who have so many distractions. Yes, caveman. Exactly, because we all go on with our daily lives and we're working and we're too busy, just like people who see UFOs. A different subject matter altogether, but how many times do you look up to the sky? How many times can you say, what percentage of time can you say, well, I've researched enough, I've looked up enough to know that there's nothing else? No, even I don't look up quite as often. I mean, think about it. 5 minutes out of the day, unless you're driving and you're looking up and looking around, you don't look up to the sky. But anyways, and you need to, some people can embrace that other side too in their gifts. So, but for the most part, yes, caveman, definitely 100%. I just don't want to miss anything up here. Let's see. I'm making spaghetti tomorrow. Can't wait. Tiny bit of Italian here. Yes, yes, yes. I know food, right? Getting you guys worked up with the food. Maybe that's why they were more open. That we're more open to it because they didn't have any money. They weren't enclosed by being materialistic, if that makes sense. Um, I guess I kind of get it, Sirs James, but I don't think that played a part into it at all. I think it just, again, I think it was my grandmother was the catalyst. She was the person who allowed these, the other side to the portal, allow it all to happen. Anyways, here we go. The Fulton house. Okay. Next story. That was my first one. But soon after that, there was a birthday party, and when my family had a birthday party, well, listen, every night was a party at my grandmother's house. They would sit out on the front porch till like 3 or 4 in the morning. I loved it. My grandfather would have the little transistor radio and the big band playing, and we would just have so much fun. And being a kid, and the whole family's talking and having fun, and it's 3 in the morning, it's far, and we're looking up at the stars, and some of the best memories, but some scary ones too at this house, that's for sure. So there was a party going on. It was a birthday, and there everybody was in the kitchen, as they always were, living room, front porch. They were just scattered everywhere talking. But I remember coming up to the kitchen area where they were sitting down, and they had candles lit. It was dark for some reason. I don't know why they did that. My family did that quite often. I don't know why, but I started to hear voices, and at first I'm like, that's my family. They're talking over, and I'm like, wait a second, I hear their voices, but I hear something else, and there's always seemed to be on the one side of the house stuff going on more than the other side of the house. It was weird, but the windows were fully open, to let the cool air and the breeze come in. Chat died. What happened? You guys just listening to the story now? Anyways, I started hearing these voices, and they were just whispers, like, but you can hear, I could distinctly hear that there was a man and there were two distinct women talking. And they were talking, I could pick out a word here or there as if they were talking about seeing my aunts and uncles in the kitchen talking at the table. So I could pick that out. And it was so weird. I got my uncle, who was my age too. We were, we always hung together. I got him, and I'm like, are you hearing this? Do you hear that? So brought it down, and I'm like, you hear that, right? And he says, yeah, I hear it. That's not that. So, we were hearing what seemed to be three intelligent spirits or ghosts, whatever you want to call them, outside the window, because that's where the voice was. We walked up over to it, didn't make it any louder, but we still heard it. And we could tell they were talking about them sitting at the table. They didn't mention us, but they could see them. And they were going on and on and on about them. And, just speaking, do you think they see us? We were picking words out. So that happened. We quickly went to my grandfather, and my grandfather, we would always, is anyone there? I know the chat died. What happened? Okay, you guys are just listening. That's all right. That's good. Travis DeLuca. Okay, we're back. Here, Travis. Did something happen with the chat? Or is it good? Is it fine? Let me see. Let me move forward. Okay, it looks like everything's working. It went out. Certain tones as well. The chat disappeared? You guys couldn't chat? How weird. How weird. Okay. If anybody wants to pop on, there's the link again. But you don't have to. I'm continuing with the story. It went out. How weird. YouTube's been having weird, very strange glitches lately. We're at 9 o'clock, 9:06. Oh, okay. So let me get to the story. Oops, something went wrong. Try reloading the page. Oh no, I hope we're still here. I hope I'm still live. Am I still live? Please tell me I'm still live. Let's go real quick, you guys. I'm not reloading the page because I don't want to shut this down. Looks like we should be okay. Oh, please tell me we're okay. Somebody in the chat, tell me we're okay. That we're still live. Anyways, we went and told my grandfather, and my grandfather was in the basement doing some work, doing something. And we told him to come up and listen today. And he kind of didn't want anything to do with it, didn't want to be bothered. He's like, listen, just go play, go do your thing, go play. Maybe it was because he was so used to it. Okay, I see that you. Okay, so we are still live, but I might have lost the chat again. I do apologize for that. I don't know if it's restream or what it is, but it looks like I lost it again, and I can't reload the page because it'll end the stream. So hopefully it just comes back. But gives me time to get my story out. Okay, so Grandpa told us to go out. So me and my uncle, we got up to the living room area. And it looks like it's working now. Okay, hello, there we go. Think we're back again. Restream might be having some issues. YouTube might be having issues. I don't know. I see you guys now. Looks like it's working again. There you go. Man. Oh my God. Love what you are saying, Dino. Thank you. I just engrossed in Dino's story. Okay, good. Thought I did something jacked up. Yeah, I don't know what the heck is going on. Okay, so we came upstairs and we're in the dining room area, not the kitchen. It was an older house with a big kitchen, dining room. The dining room had the seat, what would you call those? The seats by the window where you can look out. And there was a long side yard. It was just a long side yard. I refreshed my page and it seemed to do the trick. Okay, cool. Cam's Crash Courses, you're good. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Okay, so me and my uncle, we looked outside. We were looking outside. It's just the wind was blowing. It was dark. And again, lots of shadows in the house. Okay. So we went over to the side window and we started to see something. This was almost right after hearing the voices outside. We went over and we saw shadows in the backyard. And we could see them because there was a gas station next to us that shot the light down through into the backyard. So, and clotheslines, white clotheslines. So they got the light hitting them too. And not to mention the side of the house from, the back house and the side house from our house. We saw shadows moving about and they were coming out from behind the back house. It's very strange, very odd, but the shadows started moving and moving and we saw them and they were going about and me and my uncle was like, what the hell is going on? We went and got our uncle who was 15. He came over and he said, no, 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 no. He ran to the room. He said, listen, I've seen those before. I'm getting out of there. The shadows again. And he ran into the room and he was done. He was done. But just 3 corroborated, people seeing this. YouTube has been having glitches. Could be a ploy to upgrade a glitch. Yeah, it could be. Now I forget what I was going to ask you in the chat. Messed up, Travis. Well, hopefully you think of it. So the interesting part of the story was, again, me and my uncle, we stuck there. We were scared. We were looking at the shadows. The voices and tree. I think we were at an age, being around 7 or 8, somewhere around there, that were we intrigued, or because we were both together, we were interested a bit, and we kept looking and looking. And as the shadows were darting about, this is where this interesting phenomena comes about with shadow people. Okay. And it's interesting because a lot of people have the same story, and you can look it up online, where accompanying the shadow people that you see darting around sometimes in a lot of these haunted locations and stories and whatnot, we saw come out from behind the shadows a huge figure. It looked huge to us. I've come to learn that it was called the Hat Man. It's called the Hat Man. I know it sounds silly, but he's called the Hat Man because he's got this big, wide brimmed hat, like, one of the really big, wide brim hats, almost like something you would see in the cowboy days or something, the Westerns, but all black, accompanied by this just long, again, the long jacket, almost like it was a cape, but you could tell it was a long jacket, but it was all black, just like the shadows were. So it came out, you could see the hat distinctly, and moving about like this, you could see it pass along the clothesline. This is how vivid this is. Things like this happen to you, you never forget them. So moving about, darting about, and just kind of did this quick, oh my God, if just think of a horror movie. I mean, it just did this quick move. All the windows are open. It just moved. We could almost feel it, and the shadows vanished. They disappeared. And the Hat Man was the last to, it was almost like his jacket and his form soaked all the shadows in, or pulled them in and slid off. And it went to the backyard. And we were so freaked that we did go get 2 of our adult uncles and came outside with us and said we actually got the guts to go outside as 7, 8-year-old kids with the older adults. And it was still dark back there with just the light coming off from the gas station. And not a beret. No. It's one of the big, it's round like this round and flat. Look up the Hat Man. Somebody's done a novel on it, or not a novel, but a book about the experience. And they are looking about the house and they're going, we don't see it. Listen, and they even sat down and told us, they said, we listen, we understand, we see a lot of their things at this house. We're not saying you're lying. So they told us that we know you're not, but we don't see nothing now. There's nothing you can do. So that's kind of how it goes too. You know what I mean? And we moved on. Next story in a second here. Yes. I see. I'm not even going to be able to get to all of the stories. I'm going to have to try to really quick. 10-gallon hat. If Mothman shows up, I'm going on vacation. CM. Never seen anything like a monster or anything like that. I relayed a story that I had when I was a teenager, doing homework, I think last week with Dave Plouffe, where I felt something, I heard something. This was when I was a teen. My grandparents had soon passed around that time. And I saw a figure at the end of the hall, but it was a person, long hair. You could tell like jeans, old, like, anyways, let's see. Still see my out of body experience since I was 5. Knew I died for a minute. Connie, Connie, I'm going to need you to talk about that. The urban sombrero, Sirs James. Always going to Seinfeld. I love it. Did anybody else say anything? Let's see. I want to start a dream journal. Yes, I would recommend that to anybody to put their dreams down, because most of the time they're forgotten. And if you can keep a dream journal, most people who do, they see like, you can almost see another life happening. Okay. That's all I'll say. And that's why I spoke so highly of how I did about what I think it is. I don't remember being interested in strange things till I was a young teen. I thought adults were strange enough, LOL. Well, because of all of these experiences, that is what got me interested in the paranormal. It's what got me interested in psychokinesis. And again, I'm going to say a kooky thing, but there was a friend of mine who was so much into the paranormal, and especially in the 80s, where psychokinesis, like I think the movie was Dreamscape, like psychokinesis came into, it became a thing and people would talk about it, and moving objects and guessing what was on the other, like the psychic experiments that were done, where there's an object or a circle or a square. What's on this card? What's on this card? Me and my friend would do this over and over every day. We would do this, and we got better and better and better at guessing what was drawn, which some of them were complicated, things we've never drawn, and we got better and better and better at that. The psychokinesis part of this, which would find goofy. Listen, I can't do it now, but there was a small time when I was so into it with my friend how old was I? 16 years old. I was tapped into it. We would try to make a pencil move on the table. Okay. With just me in front of it, no breathing down and making it move or nothing, literally making it move with our hands right there and just focusing in on all the energy that we could to make it move back and forth. I made the pencil move without touching it. No draft, no air, no nothing like that. I know it sounds goofy, but you know what? Haven't been able to do it since. and I'm like, man, because I remember that experience, and quite often I go back to it and try to remember how I did it. But I'm so busy. As a teen, you could sit there for hours with your friend and just keep trying to do those things. I can't do that now. Maybe if I did, maybe I could harness that a little bit more again. But anyways, I see that some people are saying a couple more things again. J.O.B. As a kid, I remember a fire at some bar. About 7 people died in the fire. Someone took a picture of the fire. The faces of the 7 victims appeared in the photo. Even the paper printed the photo. J.O.B. Yeah. I mean, it's and why, right? I mean, why and how? And why just the faces? Because I know exactly what you're talking about. Why? I mean, it just, in a way, it don't make sense. In a way, it does. But then you ask the questions, how? How? Some things are just way, you just can't explain it. Poe Girl Shines, yes, Dream Journal. I have a few written down and wished I would have kept them all through the years. Yeah. Cam's Crash Courses. I've seen something, especially since I was in the Army in Africa. I carry a 45 Springfield. We have beers and other things in the woods. Okay, talking ghosts tonight. I've always been interested in strange things. I love Goosebumps as a child, says Travis DeLuca. I have a bookcase full of those. I remember my parents, grandparents sitting around paranormal experiences. Very interesting. That's why I would love to, email me your experiences too, you guys. I would definitely sit here and read them and go into them. Yes, I used to have the Kreskin ESP game with the cards and swinging pendulum. Yeah, Chris Cressman still keeps a dream journal since he was younger. He told me that last night's chat. Very cool. Yes, good. I could see that with Chris. Definitely very cool. It was a local paper in Pennsylvania that printed the photo, but I was a kid, so I don't remember the fire that happened. So there you go. Yes, definitely glad Connie made it back. Yes, and was on a surgery table at that age. Tonsils and adenoids was taken out. Yeah, I have the similar experience. I was on the operating table at the age of 6 because of ear infections all the time, and they had to put me to sleep. And I had a very strange experience that I'm not going to go into here. Maybe a future show if it's relevant, but I'll pull an Art Bell and say I'm not talking about that. Okay, so at the Fulton house, that was probably the biggest night in my life when it comes to paranormal stuff happening. I have had things happen throughout my life, in various aspects and different kinds of things, even after my grandparents passed away. But one had to do with the Ouija board, but I won't talk. But getting back to the Fulton house, there was one other thing that is very interesting, and I talked about this not long ago. So here's the story. Last one I think I'll tell about. And then again, this all revolves around my grandparents, because these things only really happened in the houses that they moved in. And it was mostly always the experiences. Really quick, I did say the attic in this house, the Fulton house, also a cold spot, midsummer, very cold. I was up there this time with my other uncle, because my other uncle would stay up there a lot of times. He was 18. Anyways, whatever. I'm not going to get into that story. But as it got super cold, we heard the knock again, a big knock at the other end of the attic. And my uncle, the little tabs off of the pop cans or beer cans or whatever, he would save them all, and he hung them up at like chain, like decoration. And when all of this happened, it lifted up off of the little nails that they were on, and it floated for a second, and it fell right where my grandfather was. And everybody, even my grandfather, took off like a bat out of hell, straight downstairs. And I remember that. And they left me, but I was the last one. It was my grandfather, my uncle, and me. And I'm looking back on, what the heck? Oh my God. And it's floating and it dropped. And so there's that story. I had to throw that in there because that was another one dealing with my grandparents. And maybe the last one I can get in here. Let's see. As a kid, I said, God, if you're real, let me make this shot. I was trying to throw a Nerf basketball across the room and across another room into a box. I never made it. This time I did. Listen, if God's out there, is he going to? And listen, I'm just not. I'm saying that because I have different ways of thinking on all this. Do I believe there's something higher? Yes, yes. Anyways, J.O.B. I don't think he's sitting and going, I heard him ask me to make a shot. And he helped you. I think it was just luck. Anyways, could it be somebody else intervening and saying, oh, let's help them out? More important things, maybe? I don't know. But listen, okay, interesting story there. Okay, so last story might be the creepiest. Again, true story, whether you want to believe it or not. It deals with me and my uncle. And the strange part is, okay, I told this a while back in one of the paranormal shows. We're upstairs on the 3rd floor. My grandparents live on the 2nd. There's a basement down below. I was on the 3rd floor. There's a little hole in the corner. You know, as a kid, you explore, and you even a little hole in the floor. You know, so I could look down at in the living room of my grandparents. You know, and see what my uncles are doing, what they're doing down there in the dining room. So I'm looking in there, and it doesn't look right. It looks like the basement. Okay, because the basement was concrete, like white cement concrete everywhere. And my grandfather had this table where he had like tools and stuff on, and he would always smoke his cigars down there. He would get the big stogies too, and it would take him like a month to smoke it. I don't know. But I looked down the hole, and it looked like the basement. It was the basement. I seen the table, but we're on the 3rd floor. There's the dining room downstairs, the 2nd floor. I told my uncle, I said, we both hovered there and we were looking at it. And I said, look in there. Do you see what I see? And he says, yeah, I see the basement. I go, we're upstairs. He goes, oh yeah. So we're like, and then I look again. And when I look for the 3rd, 4th time, whatever, I don't know how many times I looked down the hole, because I'm just like, what is this? What? I started hearing some noise, like the tools being messed around, and I saw something moving back and forth, picking up a tool and moving back and forth. It didn't look like my grandfather. I don't even know where he was at the time. I don't know if he was working or what. This was during the day. But somebody was grabbing tools, walking over here, walking back, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I'm seeing the basement with a person clanking around stuff in white. They were in white too, which was weird because nobody ever wore all white there. Or, you know, I don't think any of my uncles had the t-shirts on, and everybody, it was the daytime. Everybody was kind of gone and doing stuff. So my uncle looked too, and he's like, no way, no way. So we hurried up and ran downstairs to the 2nd floor, and we're like going, you know, there's the hole, and then we hurried up and ran down into the basement. We felt freaked out, okay? First of all, we went in the basement and we felt freaked out. That feeling you get, we felt it. But there was nothing there. There was nobody there. There was not a person. Ran back up, looking around the 2nd floor. Where's everybody? I asked my grandmother, because my grandma was always home. Always home. Yeah, no, none of the uncles were home. They were off. They went, I think they were off seeing a movie at the local mall. And again, that was the gist of it. But how do you see the basement from the top floor and just surpass that 2nd floor? And who the heck was down there, or what was down there? Was it some kind of time slip? I have no idea what it was, but I can guarantee you we both seen it. We both seen it. So this dream may have made me out to look like quite the wacko, but no, I'm just joking. Listen, they're true experiences, and I don't know what to say except it runs in the family. I know that much. Things have happened even after my grandparents have passed. The bulk of that scary stuff happened there, although Little experiences have popped up here and there, but since that point, there's many things that I found out. The astral traveling, being able to do that, um, being an empath, it has been an kind of an up and down type thing that I rarely talk about in my real life, um, just because of the feeling that how I feel with it, having that, the dreaming, there's so many things that I just don't ever get into or talk about. And heck, a lot of you guys, I are fairly new to me in my life. So, I don't know. More and more of this is coming out as I do these paranormal shows and you guys stick around. But 100% true occurrences, things that have happened that sound strange. And I just think it has something to do with my grandmother, especially, and the family, and stuff that kind of has gone on. So let's see. I don't want to miss what you guys said here. God might be a Nerf basketball fan. J.O.B. Let's see. Thank you, Dino and Mods. Be well. Later, CM. Thank you as always for being here. Not at all, Dino. I love listening about your experiences. Thank you, Black Roses. Well, God at the moment seems to be distracted in donated Vermont with rain. And listen, Cam, I don't think he has anything to do with that. Okay. I think we as people are given free will to do with what we may. I don't think the almighty being or whatever oversees everything that goes on in this world or the next or the universe next to us or the galaxy next to us. Listen, there could be a universe next to us. There's this theory of bubble universes where that's where this universe came from. It popped from another universe. So that actually wasn't a dumb thing to say. There is a theory out there. But who the heck knows? And I do believe the free will is given to us again. You wouldn't see what you see if we weren't given free will. And planets and nature will happen. And I don't think there's any intervening. I think life is set to take its course. And like we've talked about, when it's time to move on, whether by accident or it's just not time. And there is an intervention where it's not your time. Push. There's no intervening with the weather. I don't, unless that's a whole different show too. We start talking about conspiracy theories and stuff like that, which is a thing too. I am going to have to rewatch Miss Both Stories, getting the kids ready for bed. No problem. Make sure you email me, Sherry Walder, and love to have you on. It might have been the lead paint. LOL, Sears James. No lead paint. Although, listen, the house could have had that. Sherry Walder, I am a new subscriber, and I love it here already. Thank you, guys. Have a good night. Good night, Sherry. Thank you so much now for being part of the family. So there you go. What's on the overnight show tonight? It is part 2, whether you liked last night's show or not, Magic Island. It's episode 1 through 130. That's a little over 2 nights. So I had to do part 2 tonight. Otherwise, you're not going to hear the completion of the story. And then there's going to be only 5 episodes left, which I'll put on for tomorrow night, along with another new stream. So it'll be kind of part 3 of Magic Island, plus whatever the rest of the night will be, which will be the bulk of tomorrow night's show. But I have to play part 2 because anybody interested and who liked the story, which Magic Island was very, very good. I loved it. It was good. That hokey character, kind of kind of made it interesting. Oh my golly geez, kind of thing. But part 2 tonight. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. Thanks for opening us up for us, Dino, Sirs James. Thank you. I don't usually, just because I don't want to sound like oh boy. Yeah. Anyways, thank you. Looking forward to part 2 tonight. Thank you. Thank you. If I hopefully didn't miss anybody. Cam's crash courses. It's a joke. You're good. You're good. Thanks for all your stories. Thank you, Kathy. Thanks everybody for being here tonight, listening to my ghost stories and everything else. So I am going to end it and get ready for the overnight stream. And I will probably not, I don't know when I'm going to see you next. Probably Wednesday. I might upload another paranormal show tomorrow. I've got a couple things going on to the next 2 days that I'm not going to be able to stream at the 8 o'clock hour. So, because I am trying to put together something different by next week. So again, hopefully you guys, the show Magic Island is cool. Sears James. Yeah. I mean, listen, there's too many shows to timestamp them. So you're going to have to just where you left off, go back to, but it will be a 2-parter and then a third, which is 5 episodes, which is what, about an hour of shows. And then the next 11 hour will be something new tomorrow. You just look forward to it. So